Hello, everybody. I'm Mitch. I own Canon Computers here in town. Any computer problems you have, I can pretty much solve it. I've worked with a few of you in this room, but today I'm here to present a slide PowerPoint presentation that I put together about basic computer security, what you can do to protect yourself while you're online from scams and whatnot, and how to kind of identify those. So, no, my clicker's not working. Well, I guess I'll have to squeeze by here. Oh, there we go. Now it's working.
This is great for us to see a computer guy messing with his computer.
So some of the things that we'll cover here is we've got password security, email security, safe browsing, different types of attacks that you may see. So your password reuse, you should never ever use the same password for multiple accounts, you know, your bank account, credit cards, you know, Sam's Club, Amazon, eBay. The complexity should be fairly complex. Usually when I come up with a password myself, it's likely a paragraph, and I take the first letter out of every word, and then that's what makes up my password. Something that's easy for me to remember and hard for people to guess. So the easiest attacks are like dictionary attacks. People use passwords like, you know, their dog's name and maybe the day and month they were born or married, or, you know, significant dates in their life. Password change frequency, you know, generally 90 days is about how long I use the same password, and I never use the same password twice. You know, one of the biggest things that I see when I go out to people's homes, or businesses for that matter, is they write their passwords down on a sticky note, and it's right next to the computer. Or, you know, and some people keep their passwords in notebooks, and that's great, as long as you don't write what they're for. You know, if it's something that you're used to, that's awesome, but never write them down and keep them near things. And, you know, I've seen people write their PIN numbers for their debit cards on the back of their debit card. You know, somebody steals your debit card, they have your PIN. Obviously, email is not a password management system. You should never keep, you know, passwords that you've reset in your email. That, you know, if somebody got a hold of your email account, they'd see all that stuff that you have saved in there. Password management utility like LastPass or Dashlane, KeyPass. All of those, they keep the passwords in a file, but it's encrypted. LastPass is a really nice one. I think Dashlane does the same thing, where it stores it in the cloud to where you can access it on any device. And it comes in real handy because, you know, Google Chrome or your web browsers will save your passwords for you, but they save it in an unencrypted file, and it's easy to export it from the browser. It takes, you know, 15 seconds to do it. So if somebody were to ever get a hold of your computer and they go into Google Chrome, when they export the passwords, it, you know, gives the URL to what the password's for, gives the whole username, everything, all in, you know, one nice simplified form for somebody that wants to compromise your data. And here's some examples, you know, OnePass or LastPass, and like Dashlane, like Officer Berg said.
Is there a charge for those?
So LastPass I know is free for one device. So if if you want to use it on multiple devices like a computer, phone, tablet, then it's a charge. But if you're just going to use it, say on your personal computer, it's free.
Thank you.
And it's unlimited how many passwords it'll store. I think we have. And email is a very good. Wow, I lost my train of thought. Email is one of the most common attacks on the internet. Recent statistics cite up to 90% of successful attacks against business begin with malicious emails, and home users too. I've seen just recently a lot of people getting emails from Frontier saying that your password is going to expire. You need to click this link and update your password. It brings you to a website that looks just like Frontier's, and once you do that, then the attacker has your full credentials, your email address and your password. And then they start sending out email as requesting money from your contacts that you have stored. So when you get an email, always verify the sender of the message. So, make sure that it's who you're corresponding with. And I'll demonstrate this. So when you're in an email and it has a link, say to like Frontier's website, if you hover over the link, or what a hyperlink looks like, how it's highlighted in blue, or and then your mouse changes to the little clicker. If you hover over that link, it'll tell you where it's going to send you before you click on it. So if it doesn't say, Frontier or, HBC or Mediacom or, whatever the company is that's emailing you, it's probably not from them. Never open attachments from somebody that you don't know. That's always, even nowadays with these phishing scams where they get into, your friends or family's email accounts and they'll send attachments, be very cognizant of, spelling mistakes, grammatical errors. If it looks like the sender wasn't, English wasn't their first language, that's always my key. If it doesn't look like a native English speaker typed it, it's probably a scam.
Mitch,
Yes.
I just want to mention that twice I have gotten emails from a relative and from a neighbor, and they were sick and they needed to talk to me or something like that, but don't call on the phone, I should use the email. But I am of the age where my first response is the phone. And both times there were scams, but because I called them to see if there, it was going on. So I thought, hey, there's something about those of us who are just used to immediately calling with the phone instead of that.
Yep.
But I appreciate your information.
And you'll even see it now. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of text messages on my cell phone from people that supposedly know me, because their information got compromised at one time or another, and my phone number was listed, in my contact. So they'll text you and say, hey, can you, I can't talk right now. This is so and so. Can you do me a favor? And if you reply, then they'll ask you, hey, can you run to Target and get me $100 in, Apple gift cards or, something like that. And then, you'll do that, and then they'll ask you to scratch the barcode off and give them the number. And then you just gave somebody $100. So phishing is one of the main reasons why people get compromised, is because it looks so legitimate. Common phishing scams, an action is required. The Frontier ones that I was just talking about, they want you to update your password. like a trusted vendor. There again, Frontier is an example. I've seen just recently HBC as well. They're trying to get you to click these links and provide your credentials so that they can, get your data. And once they have your passwords, the phishers will use your account and credentials to send more phishing messages. So they'll send it out to everybody that that's in your contacts. And, it looks legitimate because it's coming from your address and not something that's spoofed to look like your address. So here's some good examples of phishing. How I said, you always look at the email address that it's coming from. This is kind of a bad one. So here's a good one. So like PayPal. Anybody use PayPal? Mm-hmm. So, here's a good one. You can always look at the from and notice, it does say PayPal, but it's obviously not legitimate. Your account's been limited. To restore your account, you need to log in. You have some bad grammar there. And here's where I said, hovering over the links. So if you hover over this link, it's going to bring you here and not to actual PayPal's website. And then they build these websites to look and almost function just like PayPal. I saw one most recently that actually, when you click the link, you provide your credentials. And then after you click the submit button, it actually brings you to the PayPal page that says your password's invalid. So once you click the link and you put all your information and you click submit, that the form that you entered in your username and password in there sends that off to the hacker, but then it also sends you off to the correct page to make it look, and then you go into your PayPal account and log in and notice that there's nothing wrong. So then you just kind of forget about it. Here's some pretty good examples. Here's an email that I got a couple weeks ago. Said that my package was on hold. A lot of people, I don't know if you do informed delivery, but the Postal Service will send you an email daily with the mail that you're going to get, including packages. So, they'll impersonate the USPS. Here's one that I saw on Facebook. If you ever see these kind of things, just ignore them, because what these are phishing scams. They, when you're signing up for a new account, your bank, whatever, credit card, some of the questions they ask you: what was the first car you had? What was your first pet's name? Things like that. I see these far too often on Facebook. And then I have this one. That one's just to be funny. Oh, yeah. And so this is kind of just the same thing. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess it's a blank slide. So viruses and malware, cyber criminals, they use attachments. It could look as simple as a Word document, but could have a malicious payload in it, where, you open the Word document, you read it, and in the background it's executing some code that is, installing a keylogger on your system. It's installing, a backdoor, it's grabbing your data somehow. So always keep a good antivirus solution. Antivirus isn't going to block 100% of the things, but 99% it'll take care of. So I covered that first line, and then always, make sure your computer is up to date. Generally Microsoft releases their patches for Windows on Tuesday evenings. So if you're in the habit of shutting your computer down every day or when you're not using it, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, I would recommend leaving it on. then your computer will install the latest software, while you're sleeping, and then in the morning you can go about your day. And that's the best thing to do, because Windows does that automatically. Same with antivirus solutions that they have. Those generally update every 12 hours, the antivirus does, because there are so many viruses that get released daily. And then here's what I was talking about, email spoofing. So they can actually, have an email account somewhere like Yahoo, but when they send it out, they can configure it in such a way where it actually looks legitimate. So, it can look like it's coming from Frontier or, a business that you use, Chase credit cards, Capital One, things like that. So like I said, always hover over those links, make sure that they look legitimate, and look real closely, because a lot of the times, for instance, Capital One, capital can be spelled the right way, and then when they do the word one, instead of an O, they'll put a 0. It'll look legitimate, so you gotta, be cognizant of those. So here's like the Frontier one that I was talking about. This was just recently from a client of mine, and this is the one that I've seen a lot of people get. So when you click this link, it goes to a website that looks just like Frontier's login page for their email, and then once you put your credentials in, it'll send you to Frontier's actual page to log in, so it looks like you failed the login attempt. Now here's one that I got the other day from the Canon Computers IT team. That's me. I'm not sending myself email. And it's telling me that I need to validate my email address and re-authenticate. And so when I click that link, it brings me to a website that looks like Microsoft's Office 365. And there again, obviously I'm not doing any system maintenance to myself, so I knew this was fake. But you can look, obviously this has nothing to do with Canon Computers. It's jcmkworld.com. So,
Hey, Mitch,
right away, yeah.
the Frontier thing,
Yes.
I get this and I go, okay. So I looked in our phone book, because we still have a landline.
Yep.
To find Frontier's phone number.
Yep.
To see if there was anything legitimate here, and I call them. I'm sorry, I get a person that can't hardly speak English. And I'm trying to talk to this person. I say, I can't understand what you're saying. I just want to know if this email that I got is something real. And, well, I don't know where my phone call that I sent to Frontier went. It obviously wasn't in this country.
In a lot of companies, they do, like, after certain business hours, they outsource their call centers to, the Philippines, somewhere where it's very cheap.
Target just announced on the news yesterday that they're offshoring a bunch of stuff to India. Call takers.
Yep.
And tons of call centers that they offshore now. They're all doing it.
It must just be cheap to have these people do it or something. It's so hard for some of us that are getting a little older, to figure out what's real and
You're
what's
going to be
not.
talking to AI pretty soon. It'll be all automated. True story.
I have asked to talk to an American
Yeah.
representative. You can do that.
They're very few and far in
I know,
between.
then you just hang up because, except I had the best one. I had so much trouble understanding them, trying to explain, but then they said to me, I can't understand your English, and they hung up on me.
That's pretty good.
My life, right?
From my experience in corporate IT and working with call centers, you can hire 50 people in the Philippines for what you can hire 1 or 2 people in the United States to do the same job.
Well, then maybe we should stop shopping at these places that are doing that. I'm
We're
not a
dumping
very
Frontier.
frequent Target
We're dumping
shopper
it.
either, anyway, so
We're gonna go with a
it's
different.
not gonna bother me.
So here's another good one. So have you guys ever gotten a phone call where, they're telling you that there's something wrong with your computer, and that they need to get remote access. And you know, your antivirus is expired, or you know, Microsoft's calling you to tell you that there is an issue with your computer. The one thing I'm going to tell you right now is once you buy your computer and it's licensed with Windows, Microsoft does not care what you do with it. Microsoft will, you know, it's just like the IRS. They will never call you to tell you there's something wrong. Microsoft, once they sell you the software, that's it. They have no care in the world what you do with that software. So if Microsoft ever calls you, just hang up. And what they'll do is they'll tell you that, you know, they've detected 15 hackers into your system downloading, you know, malicious files or sending out, you know, people's banking information, things like that, or your social security number was compromised, and you know, you need to pay a fee before they'll help you. And that's not right, you know. Obviously, the United States government is not going to cancel your social security number, because how are you going to pay taxes if they do that? Yes?
I got a call one time that he said something about my computer, and I said, well, I don't have a computer. You live in the United States and you don't have a computer? No, I don't have a computer. Really, that's hard to believe. And I said, well, you know, you kind of we're asking, and you're going to be wanting my credit card to buy a computer. Why don't you give me your credit card information, and then I'll go out and buy a computer? He hung up on me.
And these used to be called 419 scams, because the country code for Nigeria is where a lot of these come from. The country code is 419. So that's why they're called 419 scams. And those, like I said, they'll call you and initiate and try to get money out of you, you know, saying that your Windows is expiring, or, you know, your antivirus is expiring, something like that. They just want a fast payday, and a lot of people fall for it. I see it quite often, actually, still to this day. So here's some good, safe browsing techniques. You know, you keep your browser software up to date. You know, if you use Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, they all automatically update. If you don't reboot your computer often, like Google Chrome will have a thing up in the corner that'll say update. You just click that and it closes the browser, relaunches it right where you were at. So just make sure that, you know, you're always in the latest and greatest version. Just recently, Google Chrome had a big vulnerability in it. It was actually Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge, the two biggest browsers out there, where if you went to an infected website, you didn't have to do anything but visit the website, and it loaded software in the background because of this zero-day hole in the browser. You know, keep your browser plugins up to date. You know, same thing with, you know, the browser and any updates you do. Hover over the links, you know. So if you hovered over this would actually not go to US Bank. This would go to canoncomputers.com. You know, make use of any pop-up or ad blockers. A lot of websites are cracking down on those now lately. I've noticed I can't watch YouTube videos if I have my pop-up blocker on. You know, if you're doing a Google search, I always tell people if it's not within the first 3 to 4 top results on Google, it probably doesn't exist. And then there are antivirus softwares out there like WebRoot. They have an add-in for your different web browsers that will actually put a little green check mark or a yellow caution symbol or a full-blown stop sign that says, you know, you should not be visiting this website. And then if you click on it, it'll bring you to another website and say, are you really sure you want to do this? And ransomware, have you guys ever heard of that? That is, you know, like a software bug that comes into your system. You don't know it's there until it's done its job completely. So what it'll do is it'll go through your system, encrypt all of your data. Your computer is still usable, but you can't take any files off the computer, back up your pictures, all that stuff. And what they're trying to do is hold your data hostage until you pay them. And the only solution for that is to either A, pay them, or B, wipe your data and start over. There is no in between. There's just in the past few years, there's been hospitals that have had this happen to them. I've worked in corporate IT for quite a few years before starting this business, and we've had a couple companies that have had to completely wipe all their company data and start over because the person who was infected was somebody high up in the company that had access to all the data. And when you're on a corporate network like that, anything that you have access to will also get encrypted. And once it's encrypted, like I said, there's only one way to get it back, and is to pay them. And it's usually a hefty sum of money, between $2,000 and $5,000 is what I've seen. If you're a big company, they'll want millions. So social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, by design, they're collecting data on you all the time. Anything that you do, all the pictures you upload, everything. It's just, be mindful of what you post. People were saying a couple of years ago that certain kind of cell phones, if you take a picture and upload it to Facebook, it geotags those photos. So, it can, end up out there. Somebody can save it and look at the properties and be like, oh, okay, so here's the latitude and longitude of where this picture was taken. So, if you're taking pictures inside your house, they would know what's in your house. There's in the last 2 or 3 years, Google and Apple have both stopped that by default. You can turn it on, but now it's off by default. Always check your sharing settings when you're on Facebook. Make sure that it's to the audience that you want it to be. The good thing is, when you're sharing a post, right underneath your name as you're typing it, there's a little icon. It'll either show world, which means everybody can see it, or it'll show, a couple little silhouettes, mean only your friends and family can see it, anybody that has you added on Facebook. I guess that's all I had. Any questions?
What happens if, my sister just had she opened up her computer and she couldn't turn it off, she couldn't click out of it, and so she ended up calling the Geek Squad to find out, and I didn't find out what, I would turn it off, but I don't know.
Thank you for mentioning that. That blank slide that I had, that was actually supposed to be a video about that particular thing. So a lot of the scams that I see that come into my office lately have been, somebody is out searching for something on Google, and they'll click on a link, and then all of a sudden a pop-up comes up. You can't get out of it. It's making a lot of noise. It's saying, don't turn your computer off, call this phone number. That is one of the most common scams now, where they'll give you that 800 number. And then when you call them, they tell you they're from Microsoft or, whatever company it's advertising on that pop-up. The best thing to do if that ever happens to you is just don't ever call the number. Just take and hold the power button on your computer, shut it off, let it sit for a couple minutes, turn it back on, and then resume your day. When you reopen, whatever web browser you use, Chrome, Firefox, Edge, it'll ask you, do you want to restore the pages? Always say no, because if you click restore, it's just going to bring that same web page back up. One of the easiest things to do is, depending on the browser you use, if you hold the escape key down, that'll actually bring it, because what it does is it puts your browser into a full screen mode. So it takes the the taskbar away, it takes all the toolbars away. Holding the escape will bring it back down into a windowed mode, so then you can just close it. Yeah.
About 10 minutes after you got started, I got a message that says, "Hi, this is Tina. According to our records, you may still have $6,400 subsidy card ready for redemption, claimed by 313 with website address."
And-
So yeah, that's one of the things they do to pressure sale you, like, hey, you got till 3 o'clock, so you got a deadline. But they're hoping that you don't talk to people that know what these are about, and,
I'll just
you
take
know,
it out.
they'll give you so much time, and
But
so.
the dollar sign is on the back side of the $6,400.
Must be
too.
Canadian.
Does Martha know about Tina?
Does Martha know about Tina?
Oh, doesn't know about Tina. That's why I left her at home. I gotta call her.
So one of the calls we got last week was that they got an email with an invoice from PayPal, and that they had a service with LifeLock. And he's like, well, I'm pretty sure I didn't pay that, and I canceled that service. But then they said, well, I had a credit, so they just needed my account number to credit me, since I no longer have this service. But in the email, you know, so he calls the number on the email thinking he's talking to PayPal, and he said once they said that I had a credit, then it went, wait a minute, oh, I think they might have taken over my computer, and I can't remember if he shut it off or not, but I said, you need to go talk to Mitch downtown, just shut it off, and he'll make sure that everything's good and that they didn't get into it, because what the concern is, are they encrypting his files on his computer? So one of the questions I had is, do you have your account numbers and passwords on your computer? Well, yeah. Well, they can probably find them, so yeah, so just getting it shut down, you're cutting off that connection to whatever's going on, so.
Yep. If to piggyback off of that, the web browser scam, what they'll do when you call the number is they'll tell you how to close the browser, and then get them remotely connected. If they do get remotely connected, it's usually a software that you install that allows unattended access. So the software that they install does not require you to approve anything, to approve any type of access. A year and a half ago, I had a client of mine. He got one of those scams, called the number, went through everything. They charged him $39.99 for the service. He thought that was a heck of a deal. In the middle of the night, he got up to go get a glass of water, noticed the monitors in his office were on, and he went in there, and the person who he had been talking with or somebody else was accessing his computer at 3 a.m., transferring money out of his checking account to their checking account. Because, a lot of people, they save their passwords right in their browser. And so, they just opened up Wells Fargo, boom, login credentials were already there, and all they did was had to log in, and then they could start a wire transfer right from Wells Fargo online. Now, he was able to, what he did is he just ran up to the computer and unplugged it from the wall, powered it off, stopped him. But, had he not gotten up in the middle of the night to go get that drink of water, it would have been a totally different story. Now, if they do, get remote access into your computer, that would be a great time to bring it down to my office. I'll check it out for you. It's $25 to do that. And it'll, I'll remove any of the software that they installed. I'll check to see, if they did log into your web browser and export passwords or anything like that. And then, we can go from there. A lot of the times, what they'll have you try to do is log into your bank account, and then they'll black out your screen for a minute. They'll do some editing in the background, because you can actually edit a live web page so that it shows certain things, and it'll look real because you just logged into your merchant's bank account. And so they'll, it'll black your screen out for a second. They'll do their thing in the background. They'll be like, oh yeah, oh, we accidentally transferred $9,995 into your checking account. You need to transfer that back to us. And then then we'll refund you your $400 or whatever. So they do get pretty tricky. And like I said, if you ever do let them get remote access into your computer and then you think about it, the best thing to do is either to, if it's a tower, just hold the power button down, shut it off. Laptop, hold the power button down, shut it off. Cut that access off right away. If it's a laptop, closing the lid doesn't always necessarily power it off. The best thing to do is just hold the power button down until it shuts off. It's not going to hurt. Just don't do it all the time. Otherwise, you'll be seeing me sooner than later. Yes?
It seems like those emails, the fake ones, come in spurts.
They do. I've noticed, I've gone a month without them, and then the next month I'll get 50 in a day. It's, being a business owner, it's, I get a lot of spam, and I get a lot of that type of emails where the Canon Computers IT team is doing things, and I'm just like, what IT team?
I think some of that is in your email spam folder. As they try to change emails and addresses, some of it's getting through. But then, I can look at mine right now and say, well, some of them were caught just minutes ago and in the spam filter. Other ones made it through to my inbox. And that's part of those updates in your email that they'll catch on to that. And then tomorrow when you get that same email, it's probably going to your junk folder.
Yep.
Even for me at work, I was giving people my work email, and they were trying to send me video links for an investigation I had. Well, I wasn't getting them, and the funny thing was the victim got the neighbor, so the neighbor sent videos to me and the neighbor. Well, I was able to get emails from my victim, but not from the person that had the videos. So I said, okay, now that you got it, you send it to me, because your email address was a Gmail. I usually get those. The other one was a Proton Mail, which got caught in the filter and said, hey, this might be scam or spam. So always be checking that if somebody's sending you a legitimate email and you're not getting it, check that junk folder.
In a lot of companies, they'll send out daily reports that, hey, here's a list of your email that was caught in a spam filter. Not all of them. I with my work email, I get them. Gmail, not so much. Yahoo, not so much. But HBC, they send one out every day, and it just lists all the email in there. And 99% of it is junk. And, there is that 1% that's legitimate. Like my phone system, people would leave me voicemails. I was never getting them because my email system decided that everything coming from my phone system was junk. So I had a span of about a month and a half where I kept, why aren't these people leaving me voicemails if they're calling? And it turns out that my email system thought it was junk because I was getting them more frequently than you should, I guess.
Well, you're gonna be able to hang around for a little bit.
Sure.
Great, okay. Thank you very much, appreciate you so much.
You're welcome.
And he'll be around for a few minutes, okay?